What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. And we are back with an impromptu show tonight after watching what I thought was an epic UFC 310 card, although there were some disappointments that we're definitely going to talk about. But holy smokes, what a crazy card. So we're going to talk about a lot of the fights that we did make predictions for. I think I was wrong on the vast majority of my predictions, but the fights were really fun. So it was very, very exciting. Justin, I know you're joining from Vegas. I'm back in LA. Was there anything that especially caught your attention? Were there any of these fights that were especially interesting, or do you have a favorite of the night?
Hey, David, hold on one second. Give me 1 second.
You're good. Tehran, what's up, man? How's it going? All right. So I'm going to run through some of these fights, and we're going to talk about everything that went down. So we're going to start right off at the beginning. And thank you guys for joining, by the way. We're going to see how this kind of goes. We haven't done one of these post-fight shows right after the UFC card. So let us know what you think, if you appreciate it, if you like this post-fight analysis, or if you just want us to kind of kick back in on Monday like we normally do. But anyways, let's start off with Aljo versus Movsar Evloev. That was a really, really great fight. That was actually one of my favorite fights of the night on the prelims. I really want to hear Justin's take. Justin, as you guys know, has trained with Aljo a bunch, and he's a big fan of Aljo. It was an extremely close fight. I think it could have gone either way, but definitely Movsar Evloev is no joke. I thought Aljo did a tremendous job early on in the fight, had some great moments, and had some really great success on the feet. I think once it kept going to the ground in the later rounds, especially in round 3. Thanks, Ron. Appreciate that. I think especially in round 3, that's when the tide began to turn, and Movsar started taking over. But I could have seen it going either way. I'll say this, and I want to hear Justin's more technical analysis once he's able to rejoin and jump back on. But I think what's disappointing to me is we talked about this on Friday and even on Monday. Aljo is one guy in the game that just doesn't seem to get a lot of respect from the fans and in the UFC, but he's just such a consistent hard worker. He's got tremendous skills, and he went toe-to-toe on the ground. And as much as Movsar is feared for his grappling, I thought that Aljo did a tremendous job and easily could have won that fight. It was this close. And so I'm just kind of disappointed from a personal standpoint. I felt like if Aljo would have gotten the win, he would have been right there for the title shot, especially if he would have finished with a submission or something like that. So that's really disappointing. And I wonder what Aljo's next move is going to be. I can't imagine it's easy coming in as the champ in the bantamweight division and now having to face some adversity. He's not old by any means, but he's not at the beginning of his career. Is he going to pull it together, kind of have enough drive to kind of keep going and climb back to the top of the mountain in the featherweight division? I think he might, but that's a question that we'll have to see, the answer in time. But tremendous fight. Again, it was such a treat to have such a great fight on the prelim. So very, very cool. The next fight I want to talk about, which was crazy, was Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Now, as I mentioned, I did pretty bad with my predictions. Again, I was wrong about Aljo versus Evloev. I think a lot of people were picking Evloev, rightly so. This one I felt was like a pretty sure thing that Dominic Reyes was going to come out on top, and he did. Anthony Smith went in there. He gave it his all, and he showed his toughness. Man, I mean, he took a beating. It was actually uncomfortable at one point to watch, with Dominic Reyes just continuing to land heavy shots on the ground over and over. And Anthony Smith would not go away. Now, I think that, Tehran says you got to feel bad for Smith. I mean, 100%. That was really, really, I don't know. It was just kind of emotional. And then you see the end of the fight. It was pretty one-sided. I feel like it's what most of us expected. Although Anthony had his moments at the beginning of the fight, I feel like when they were on the feet. But it was, I think, what we predicted. And the aftermath, when Joe Rogan went over to talk to him when Anthony was in tears, talking about losing his best friend. We know that's something that's been bothering him all week. He's been quite devastated by that. I think leading up to this fight, one of the things he says, he had to come in and fight because he wanted to hurt somebody, who wanted to just damage something to let out his frustration and his anger. But I guess he did what he did, and he said he didn't even care about the loss. He just had to maybe vent some frustration. One big moment is that we did see Anthony Smith remove the gloves, which I think maybe we thought was at least a 50% chance that was going to be a retirement fight. He took off the gloves, and Joe Rogan went over there and interviewed him. And when he was asked point blank about retirement, he didn't say for sure, but he said probably. And I'll take a page out of Justin's book. What he always says is, hey, I'm never going to be the one to tell a fighter to retire or tell a fighter when their time is up, because, hey, that's their career. That's their life. That's everything. That's in a lot of ways how they make money. So, of course, if he feels like he's still got 1 or 2 more, 5 or 10 more in him, hey, more power to him. I think the only thing I would say is, one of my favorite people to listen to about the sport of mixed martial arts is Anthony Smith. He's got a very, very smart mind when it comes to analysis. We hear him both on ESPN broadcasts. He does an amazing job on the Michael Bisping podcast. And I think it's kind of like, this is just my outside perspective. You heard Joe Rogan have that heartfelt talk with Brendan Schaub long ago, say, hey, maybe if you're not really in it anymore, if you're taking a lot of damage and you do have a promising career using your mind, using your brain, using your analysis and your comedy skills, maybe it's time to step away to preserve that second part of your life and your career. And that would be my only concern and my only thought for Anthony Smith to consider, just because he's such an intellectual guy and he provides such amazing insights and analysis. But we will see. And if he fights again, I will obviously be tuning in. So now we're going to move up to the main card, and we're going to start with, let's see, we have, one fight on the early prelims I didn't mention. I actually wasn't able to watch this fight. I was in transit when this fight happened. This is one of the fights that I think Justin picked with his heart. He was picking Clay Guida to win, the old school vet, but I think most of us thought Chase Hooper was going to come out on top, and Chase Hooper did win. I haven't watched the fight yet. I'm going to have to go back and watch it later tonight, because we want to jump on this right away. But Chase Hooper did win in round 1, I think like 3 minutes in, by submission. So I want to see exactly how it went down. But again, Chase Hooper, tactician, just getting better and better exponentially. So it is what we, I think, all really expected deep down. All right, now we're going to move on to Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Oops, I think there's 2 L's in Bryce Mitchell's name. But anyways, this was, again, I feel like a fight that we somewhat expected to happen. Now, the one positive thing I'll say about the fight at the beginning is Kron Gracie was actually throwing some strikes, much more so than his last fight. But he kind of pulled the same tactics, which, look, again, I'm not a professional mixed martial artist, right? And Justin can speak more to this, but he has said this. Other folks have said this too. Going straight to guard for a couple of reasons, while it may be very effective in jiu-jitsu for particular submissions and whatnot, it's not very effective in mixed martial arts. And the reason being, you can get punched in the face when you're on the ground. Ground and pound is there, and it's very dangerous. Also, in the eyes of the judges, it does not look good, even if you're threatening submissions to end the round or have most of the round on your back. But he went to that same strategy for whatever reason. Even when his pre-fight interviews, he was saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do that this time. I was sort of pressured into using a lot of jiu-jitsu in my last fight. That's why I did what I did. This time I'm not going to do that." But it seemed like maybe it's what he knows, where he feels comfortable, and he went to it. And unfortunately, he paid the price. He pulled guard several times in the fight as soon as they entered into a grappling exchange. And mad props to Bryce Mitchell. There was one point where I think he was threatened with a potential armbar. I can't remember, maybe a triangle, but there was a possibility that he was going to get submitted. I don't think it was that high, but it was definitely there, especially with somebody as skilled as Gracie. But he went in, he stayed strong and got out of it. And then the next time Gracie pulled guard when they were standing up, Bryce just picked him up, boom, slammed him on the ground, and then laid into him with some vicious ground and pound, a couple elbows. And I think he went out, not positive, but it was immediately stopped. And great victory for Bryce Mitchell. Awesome to see him back in the winning column. I'm such a massive fan of Bryce Mitchell. And what an amazing post-fight where he goes in and he brings up when he called Joe Rogan stupid once, and he apologized to him and told him he loved him. And Bryce Mitchell, I don't know, one of my favorite guys in terms of the post-fight interviews. So very happy for him that he got the victory. Congratulations. All right, moving on. I'm not going to talk about Nate the Train, but he did get taken down by his opponent. I'm blanking on his name, the gentleman from South Korea. But that was a great performance for him, and congratulations. But we're going to move on to the third fight on the card, a fight that was, I think, I'd say like I was second most excited about, because I'm a huge fan of Cyril Gane. I'm a huge fan of his fighting style. I think he's very slick on the feet. He's super quick, but he didn't seem his normal self. He didn't seem like he had the full quickness and agility that he normally has. He didn't throw nearly as many kicks as he normally does. He still got the win, but if you guys saw the post-fight interview, wasn't happy about the win. It was a very close decision. He felt like he performed badly, even though he had his moments, and he also did some good work in the grappling exchanges and takedowns. But he explained what happened. and it was that he broke his toe on the very first teep kick that he threw against Alexander Volkov. And when he said that, look, man, people are going to say what they say. I know people say, hey, you make excuses and turns people off. But I mean, the thing about Cyril Gane that I love is that he, I feel like, speaks the truth. He's authentic. He's just himself. He's comfortable in his own skin. And I think, I mean, it's the truth. Sometimes it's not. I mean, where do we cross the line, right? It's an excuse, but it's also the truth. So he was just saying what happened. He broke his toe, and he came away with the victory. But if it happened, it happened, and I believe it happened, and it makes a lot of sense as to why we didn't see prime Cyril Gane. But even still, I love that he's going for submissions. He's going for takedowns. I don't know about the heel hooks that he keeps wanting to use. I know he said in sparring he's actually successfully gotten heel hooks many times. So maybe it's a move that he feels really confident with. I mean, think about it like this, right? Everybody has a unique flexibility and strength differential than other people. We saw Khamzat successfully pull off a face crank, which is, Ian Gary was trying to get an actual choke, but most people may not have the leverage to pull off an effective face crank. Khamzat does. So maybe this is something that Cyril Gane, with his particular brand of strength and agility and flexibility, he's able to get heel hooks more effectively than other people. So maybe that's why he wants to go for it. Nevertheless, he went for it, didn't get it, but fought a very tough fight. And yeah, it was close, man. I think both fighters should get a massive pat on the back and massive congratulations. I think Volkov looked very disappointed, but I don't think it's like such a clear-cut case that Volkov won, by the way. Yes, he finished strong. He definitely won the third round, but I could see it going to Cyril Gane. And I was thinking, hey, look, I'm a big Cyril Gane fan, and I wanted him to win, and I'm happy to see him get the victory. So maybe I'm biased, but I could have seen it going either way, and I wouldn't have been necessarily mad or disappointed either way the decision went. Again, I think the crowd was upset primarily because of the way that the fight ended. That's my 2 cents. But the great news is, in my opinion, I think overall between the two, I believe that Cyril Gane is the more talented fighter, the more dangerous fighter in the heavyweight division. I'm happy to see him get the victory because I want to see him fight more high-level fights. Like, I want to see him fight Tom Aspinall eventually. Maybe John Jones, even a rematch, but like Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall is a very interesting fight to me. People talk about Tom Aspinall's speed and agility, and I feel like they've just forgotten about Cyril Gane and how people were talking about him when he first came into the heavyweight division, his lightness, his quickness, his incredible Muay Thai and kickboxing, and now he's developing a ground game. So from that standpoint, I'm happy to see it. I want to see him get in there and fight higher level competition and maybe still get another crack at the belt. He almost beat Francis Ngannou, let's not forget. So he's the real deal. Now, moving on, and unfortunately, it looks like Justin's not going to be able to rejoin, but I'm going to close it out for you guys. We got 2 fights left to talk about. Co-main event. Holy smokes. Now, Tehran, the rest of you guys in here, let me know what you think about the co-main event. But to me, I thought it was a brilliant fight. I thought it was amazing, fascinating. And I could see maybe people who are newer to the sport or people who don't train maybe could not necessarily appreciate a lot of the tactical moves, the feints, the computing that you could see Ian Gary and Shavkat performing on the fly throughout the fight. Even Shavkat being very calculated, not rushing in, knowing the danger that Gary presents. And likewise for Gary, very, very calculated. Now, what was amazing to me was to see Gary's progression over the fight, get more comfortable, kind of figuring out his distance management, figuring out the speed differential, and beautiful attacks. Now, I really want to get Justin's insights on the fight and his breakdown of the striking in particular, but these are the things that I noticed. And of course, I don't have as seasoned of an eye, but for example, Ian Gary did a lot of great work on the lead leg of Shavkat. I think that's eventually what pushed Shavkat to go for so many takedowns, because I think his lead leg was severely weakened. He was beating it up, and he was actually tagging it with a lot of these like kind of front oblique kicks where he was, boom, just pushing down on the knee. And I think that really affected Shavkat's movement later on in the fight. And I also loved Ian Gary was doing a lot of great work to the body with some jabs and punches. I feel like punches to the body are so underutilized. So when I see it, I was seeing a fighter, I'm blanking on his name now, out of Fusion Fight League back in June, throw a lot of body shots. AJ Hotchkins, I think is his name, who'd probably be making his UFC debut soon. He's a really good, really talented fighter, former football player, college football player as well. But in his last title fight at Fusion Fight League, he was throwing an amazing amount of jabs and crosses to the body, to the solar plexus. And I think they're a great avenue because people aren't necessarily expecting those shots. And with the MMA gloves, I think they do a lot of damage. Or obviously not as much damage probably to a clean headshot. Because they're unexpected, I think you can catch people by surprise and slowly wear down on the body and drain their cardio, etc. So I appreciated the fact that Ian Gary was landing those shots. And then, I mean, come on, like the fact that he reversed the position at the end and almost choked them out. I mean, he had amazing leverage. He just couldn't get it under the chin, but I was on my feet going nuts. Dude, he almost pulled it off. And then he lost the decision basically 3 rounds to 2. But I think that fight could have gone either way. I think they probably made the right decision. But, man, I really want to see Ian Gary pull it off. He went up and fought the scariest guy in the division. And in a lot of ways, I think he outclassed him. I really do. I really think he did better on the feet. I think he had a massive advantage. And people were saying Shavkat's so much better on the ground. And he barely did much damage to him on the ground. He had his moments with some ground and pound, but I mean, if you're not a fan of Ian Gary at this point, you're just a pure hater. Like at this point, if he hasn't won you over with everything he's done, the fact that he stepped up and took this fight on short notice, put it all on the line when he had a fight scheduled next week against a completely different opponent, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I think we can all say Ian Gary is the man. If he's watching this, if he ever sees this, massive props. That was such a pleasure to watch. And I really appreciated, once again, the careful way that he approached the fight, how he slowly ramped up the intensity. And the cardio was tremendous. He put on such a great performance in the 5th round. So massive props. I am disappointed. Not to say that I don't love Shavkat, amazing fighter, but I don't know. I was really rooting for Ian Gary, and I thought it would have been a great story. But Ian Gary will be back. He lost to Zoe, but a lot of fighters come out way stronger when they do take a loss. And I mean, I'm very curious to hear what his take is on how he performed, but I thought he performed great. So that's that. And then we go on to the final fight. Kai Asakura. Oh, by the way, let's read some comments from Tehran, by the way. You have to feel for Vicente prove people wrong. I didn't talk about the Vicente Luque fight, but that was a very quick submission. He smoked that dude. And that one, I wasn't able to watch live, but I did rewatch it later. I'll talk more about that in detail on Monday. That was a very quick submission. I mean, immediately got him to the ground and just had a tremendous submission. So that was great. But I need to watch it more carefully, and then we can talk about it on Monday. But congrats to Vicente Luque. And then Tehran, you said you didn't care for the co-main? Wait, why? I want to hear why, because that was my favorite fight of the night. But Tehran, I mean, curious to know specifically what you didn't like about it. But I mean, I don't know. I thought it was super exciting, and I loved how it kind of crescendoed. It built up throughout the fight. We kind of had some grappling against the fence, a lot of fence work with Shavkat. There wasn't too much happening, and then it kind of built up, and you see Ian Gary get more comfortable. You see Shavkat taking more chances. I don't know. I thought it was tremendous, and then he almost lost at the end. He came back and he reversed the position. Yeah, I thought it was cool. But let me know specifically why you didn't like the co-main. Okay, now let's go to the final fight of the night: Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Asakura. I was hoping for Kai Asakura because, I mean, dude, if you guys don't think he's exciting after this fight, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you were watching. He's so fast. He's so quick. Landed multiple flying knees with amazing, I'll say amazing precision, although they didn't land flush, but they landed. And I imagine it's got to be quite difficult to land a flying knee, especially when the other guy is so quick. But props to Pantoja for the continuous pressure. I thought Kai Asakura was going to pull it off, but of course the grappling disadvantage that he had obviously was pretty obvious once Pantoja got on his back, and I think pretty easily got the choke. But props to Asakura too. He didn't tap. That dude is tough, and he'll be back too. But I will definitely be tuning in for whatever fights he's got. He's an amazing fighter and a huge asset for the UFC. So I'm very glad they got him, and I hope to see him come back, maybe work on. I mean, actually, his grappling was good. I just think Pantoja his skills are that much better, and it is what it is, right? But I think he'll continue to improve and maybe work on those elements of the game. Plus, you have to remember there is a difference between the ring, which they're used to in Ryzen, and fighting in the octagon. I don't know the extent how much that affects people, but I heard Michael Bisping talk about this earlier in the week, that it is different. It is something that you have to get adjusted to. So I think that now Kai Asakura hopefully will continue to improve at an exponential rate, will come back. And he's the type of guy, I know people don't necessarily love the flyweight division, but he's the type of guy that can really revitalize and revamp the flyweight division to make it very exciting. And I think that's dope, because especially me loving striking and loving Muay Thai in particular, watching the skill that he has in terms of the striking is such a treat. You can just see the perfect footwork, the perfect form, the quickness. I don't know. I had a blast. It's just a completely different thing watching flyweights and heavyweights in terms of the striking, and I really enjoyed it. So I'd love to see Kaya Sakura come back, get a belt, have some title defenses. So let's hope, let's pray, let's cross our fingers. But overall, I love the card. What can I say? I thought it was tremendous. Maybe there was some lulls, but overall, I loved it. All right, so yeah, Tehran, you said the fight was boring and too much clinching. What did you think, though? At least where you did you appreciate at least kind of the strategy and the way that Gary was carefully measuring distance and setting things up, or was that still like just didn't do it for you? Anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comments of this post-fight stream. Happy to do it again in the future if you guys like it. We might even do a full watch party next time me and Justin were talking about it. Unfortunately, like I said, Justin couldn't come. I really want to get his insights because he can give you guys the real deal from a fighter's perspective. But we'll have that for you on Monday. Anyways, thank you guys so much. We're 4 subscribers away from hitting this big milestone. And if you guys are watching it new to the show, give us a chance, subscribe, join along in the journey. If you don't like it, no worries. You're welcome to tune out eventually. But we do shows every Monday and Friday, and we got videos cranking out pretty much every day of the week now. So we got a lot of content, and we hope you appreciate our insights. Thank you guys so much for joining. Again, click that like button if you did like this video. Make sure to click subscribe if you want to see more, and we will see you in the next video. Take it easy.